Good morning. Hello and welcome to Trailhead DX. This morning's session is Go with the Flow, top UX tips for Lightning Flow. And my name is Owen Shoppy. I'm a principal product designer here at Salesforce, working on all things Flow. As always, before we get started, the forward-looking statement, please make your purchasing decisions based on what is commercially available and not what I show you today. Lightning Flow is a powerful new tool for creating engaging user experiences on the Salesforce platform. Anytime you see customers or users using a complex form, very long form, or pogoing across multiple sites in order to get their job done, consider using Lightning Flow to make their lives easier. Whether you're optimizing your service center or helping customers on our community, Lightning Flow is a great tool for increasing productivity and satisfaction. As you can see, in this service console, we've embedded a flow right in the middle in order to increase the consistency of service and reduce the need for training from agents. Using a script and pulling in the customer data, we can ensure that reps solve cases in the same way each time. This can also be really good for compliance reasons. In this example, we're verifying customers' identity in the same exact way. Over on the community side, flows are a great way to make actions a little bit more self-service. Walking people through a process allows it to feel easier and more conversational. You can see in the middle, we've included in this example flows for ordering a custom debit card, applying for a new credit card, things like that. Each of these would launch a flow to walk people through the process of accomplishing that task. Today we're going to talk about key principles. So whether you're using Lightning Flow screens out of the box or using custom Lightning components to build those screens, your flows will result in an engaging and enticing user experience. So without further ado, number one, simplify the task. This is really the key benefit of using flows, is that you can take a complex process that takes a long time to do and break it down into simple, easy to accomplish steps and encourage users to succeed. Perhaps a starting point is you have a complex form that has several sections. Consider whether each section should be its own screen and break the process up that way. Other times you might recognize that you have some fields that are dependent on an earlier choice and are only relevant in some contexts. In this example, maybe you're in a checkout process and you want to let your users use their billing address instead of their shipping address as the shipping address. It might make sense to hide the shipping address input fields until the user has decided not to use their billing address. This is now possible in Lightning Flow using Lightning components to dynamically hide and show content based on users' choices, all within the same screen. And while forms are a great place to start in terms of building out your flows, you will just want to be careful about not dumping a form onto the screen. Just copying and pasting the fields across won't make for a sticky experience. You want to go through each field and consider, does it make sense on this step? If it doesn't, maybe it should be its own step. Or maybe it should be a dynamic piece of content that comes in after the fact. Or maybe it just shouldn't be there at all. It's something specific for a different user. Number two, label where you are. One way to make sure that each of your steps is super clear is to label it. Putting a title on each screen can clarify what is the primary task of this screen. It also means that you can then look at the screen and determine, is each thing on this screen aligning to that title? Does it make sense in this context? When you add labels to the screen, also consider using hierarchy to explain what is the high-level task and what is the specific subtask. In this example, you can see we're labeling that you're in the checkout process, you're on the shipping step, and I'm asking you, what is your shipping address? And a note about markup for developers in the room, make sure you're using H2s and H3s to make that hierarchy semantic so that every user can take advantage of that information. The thing to watch out for here is using generic labels. So you don't want to say something like step one. What does that mean? What are you asking? And even worse, not adding labels altogether. That just leaves people wondering what it is that you're asking. New in Lightning Flow, you can override the flow header, which is a really powerful new tool. And so when you do that, just make sure that you're still providing the same information that the default header is. Out of the box, we label what the flow is to provide that high-level context of what it is you're trying to do. In this case, checkout. That's not necessarily the complete information, so a custom header can do better. But you just want to make sure you're still providing that level of information. Number 3, make it visual. This is one of the amazing superpowers of Flow. It's just inherently visual. And it's only gotten better with the use of Lightning components. Take advantage of this strength and help make choices more clear to your users by using visual aids. As they say, right? I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words. In this example, you can see that we've made selecting a credit card way more clear by using this visual picker component, so you can easily see what it is that each credit card looks like, rather than trying to describe it in text. SLDS has a great component out of the box that you should consider using in these cases. It's called Visual Picker, and it comes with all the labels and clickable elements necessary to make really clear choices. The thing about going visual is that it's a little bit next level, so you want to make sure you're doing it right. You don't want to cause additional friction just because you added some images to your flow. Some common mistakes that occur are not labeling your images or providing alt tags. This means that some users just won't have any idea what it is that is on screen. Another common mistake is if your image is intended to be clickable, as in this example, the icons are a choice, you need to make sure that they appear clickable. So you might want to wrap the image in a button or put a button next to it that does the same thing. This is one of the great things about the SLDS Visual Picker, is that it bundles all of those attributes together and makes sure that your offerings are super clear and work really well the first time. Number 4, use explicit navigation. Now that you've broken your complex process down into a series of simple, discrete steps, you need to make sure that it's easy for users to get from step to step. Flow includes really good navigation out of the box with clear next, previous, and pause buttons. But sometimes next isn't the clearest option to offer. If we think about our checkout process, what would be better than next would be a button that says Submit Order when you get to that step. And new in Lightning Flow, we now allow you to override the footer and provide your own buttons for exactly that situation. The thing you want to look for in doing that is to still use the brand buttons or a consistent button from screen to screen so that it's still clear to the user what that go forward option is. And the thing to watch out for when you're doing navigation is to not navigate users when they don't expect it. You might be tempted, for example, to navigate the user when they select a radio button or a pick list choice, but that can create a really disorienting situation. Instead, what you want to do is either show content dynamically within the same screen, following that form element, or just wait until they click Next. And finally, it's a process, so show progress. Nothing gives users more context and confidence about the big picture than showing them a path of what's to come and where they've been. If we think about our checkout process, maybe you're trying to find that delivery estimate so you can decide whether or not you're going to submit the order. If you know that submitting the order is several steps down the line, then you'll have confidence to keep clicking Next to try and find that estimate and not be afraid that, oh, am I about to submit the order or not? This is actually another great feature of the new Lightning Flow is that we allow you to use stage and stage collections that are built right into flows to track and update the stages as you go along. And SLDS has a bunch of components that we encourage you to use from path to progress indicator that should fit most situations. When building these out, just be cautious that you're not leading users astray. Suddenly adding a ton of steps after they click next or dribbling out new steps after every single screen can make people feel like they're treading water and not getting what they expected. Vice versa, you might have a complex step that takes a few screens to get through, but just make sure that that doesn't take too many screens where users will wonder, is the path even working anymore? Is something broken? So you want to make sure that you're still providing an accurate view as you go along. Both of those situations can be mitigated using our previous principles of explicit navigation and labeling. For example, in the checkout process, it's totally reasonable to have a button there that says add additional address or add payment method. And if I click that button, I wouldn't be surprised if on the next screen there's a new step that said add additional payment method and had a series of steps. And that's it. Those are the 5 things. If you do those 5 things, your flows will be way more engaging and guarantee you'll have more success. Just to recap, number 1, simplify the task. Number 2, label where you are. Number 3, make it visual. 4, use explicit navigation. And 5, show progress. And to help you get started on all 5 of those things, here are a few resources. Feel free to take a picture. I'll get out of the way. First and foremost, the design system. It's amazing. Learn it, love it. It saves so much time. Number 2, we just launched this new resource yesterday. It's the new Lightning Flow Developer Center. And it's full of demos and trailheads and other resources to help you get started. Third one, there's an unofficial site out that's actually got some really cool components that you can download and install into your org to help you get started. And finally, all of those components are also on GitHub. And we encourage you to fork the repo, start configuring them, and send requests, send pull requests to update and contribute. We're really excited to be building the new Lightning Flow experience together with you as a collaborative process. So thank you. We really couldn't be here without you. So excited to have you here at Trailhead DX. And there are a few minutes left. If there are any questions, happy to take them and answer. Yeah, so the question is, what is the difference between Lightning Flow and Classic Flow? The main difference is it's the same tool. Flow is just getting better. We call it Lightning Flow now because of all the new Lightning integrations we've done to allow you to use Lightning components, replace some of the standard components with your own custom components. There's new eventing, local actions, lots of new features that are being powered by the Lightning framework. Sorry, in the second row. Good questions. So in migrating to Lightning, will you automatically get the new Lightning Flow? So there are 2 runtimes, the classic runtime and the Lightning runtime. The Lightning runtime is available both in Aloha and in the new Lightning experience, although only the Lightning runtime runs in the Lightning experience. So yes, you'll get it automatically, and you can roll it back into your classic environment, so you can still take advantage. Sorry, what's that? So the question is, do the flows migrate? Yes, the flows migrate. The metadata is forward compatible with Lightning Flow. I think there's a question in the front row. Got it, yeah. So the question is, who do we anticipate building flows, admins or developers? Lightning Flow is really for the range of things. It is a complex tool. It has a lot of power. Developers are going to find it very natural. A lot of the terminology, like variables and constants, is kind of coming from a developer mindset. On the other hand, as an admin, we're working on building a new flow builder that'll launch in, let's see, winter 19, I think, is the estimate. And it should make building flows way easier and make it a lot more accessible to admins. It is still visual flow. You might know the tool today as the Cloudflow Designer. It's a Flash-based tool. And we're working hard to replace that tool. Question over here. Yes, yes, of course. Good call out. I should have gone back. There we go. And I'll get out of the way. Yes. Good question. So how does this vary from sales path? Sales path is a way to visualize a pick list that represents status or stage on a particular object and on a record page, which is a really useful tool when you're working a lead and you're pushing it down a process. Flows are distinct from that in that, first, they're inherently cross-object. So you can pull data and merge it together into an input or an output screen from a variety of objects all in one place. In that regard, they're also, each instance is what the term is called an interview. And it's, you can think of it more as like a wizard, where the intention is that you work through a series of steps, maybe pause it, hand it off to a different user, and the second user might complete it. So perhaps you have a customer onboarding process. Someone at intake does the first few screens, and then they hand it off to someone on the internal sales team to finish it. The need for a progress indicator is the same there, but the context of it is different. Good question. So will the new tool have better debugging capabilities? I'm actually really excited. I think it's going into pilot soon. It was demoed yesterday by Nate Lipke. There's a new debugger. It's coming out. It'll be integrated into the current Cloudflow Designer in the short term, and then into the new tool in the long term. And the new debugger is completely fantastic. It's GA. Oh, it's GA. Yeah. As soon as this release, summer 18 rolls out, it'll be a little debug button in the toolbar there. And then you had a question in front. Yeah, so will Lightning Flow have more ways to launch it than Classic Flow? I don't think it has more ways, but there are a mountain of ways to launch flows. You can bind them to quick actions. You can make a standalone button. You can have them be standalone pages. Yeah. Was there something specific? Yeah. Yeah, so as the question around forward compatibility, all your flows we're building in ways to expose them. And that's not necessarily tied specifically to Lightning Flow. It's just part of the Lightning experience. Yeah, second row. Good question. So will it replace Process Builder as well? Process Builder does run on the Flow engine behind the scenes. That's not changing. And the Flow engine itself is just continuing to get better. So, yeah. All right. I think that's it for questions. Arnav's got a question. Oh, I don't know, Buzz. Do you want to tell him?
So for folks who use Process Builder heavily right now, for folks who use Process Builder very heavily right now, there's two kind of cool admin changes that are coming in this summer. One is when you get an error email for Process Builder, it'll actually include the organization ID that you're getting the email for. So I know a lot of admins have raised this in the past where maybe they have many production orgs or sandbox orgs, and when they get an error email, they don't know where that particular Process Builder process failed. So that's coming in summer safe harbor. I don't know if you showed one, but that's a future-looking thing. It's in the next release. The debugger that Owen called out is coming in the summer for Cloudflow Designer. The third thing that's changing for Process Builder is when you get an error for the end user in the UI, like let's say you change the opportunity status and the Process Builder failed. Today, you don't really get any details as the end user what failed. You just see an error. And in the summer, it'll tell you the particular process builder process name that failed, and if the underlying change was, returning up an error, like if it was a validation rule that was causing the failure, that particular string will show up. And you'll also get a correlation ID for the actual error code. So if none of those things actually make sense, the end user can at least copy that correlation ID and send that to this admin, and the admin can look in the logs to correlate what happened. So those are the three big kind of admin-facing debugging improvements coming in summer. Sorry? They show up in the Apex debug logs. Yeah, I think also the Apex error logs contain them, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so since you guys were asking questions about debug stuff.
Well, I'll meet you out back if there are any more questions.